Hey, it's Chuck.
Here they come. Wallace gets it away, and it's over the head of Mays, and intercepted by Brillan by a touchdown. Busby comes in 23, and he's hit by Whitfield. There, ladies and gentlemen, number 11.
Fires, intercepted at the 39-yard line.
He was able to come up, zone coverage, and look at that patience when he...
Lofted one, intercepted. Picked off by Malcolm Jenkins. Jenkins going the other way, down the sideline. Ohio State might get a touchdown. They do.
Let's get it.
And I don't think he's going to throw the ball as much as he thinks he's going to throw the ball now that Chip Kelly's on board. And I'm happy about that. More quarterback.
The truth is Ryan Day has made a change philosophically, but it's none of those.
You all know who wins. LSU is the drunkest fan base in the country.
Hey, it's Chuck, and thanks so much for joining me today, guys. An absolutely loaded show, ton to go over. We've got, if I don't shut up today, like we're going to have absolutely nothing to talk about on the weekend because I've got so much stuff here. We got camp going on, and we have tons of offers that have gone out. I've got a long list of offers to go over. Camp is so interesting because you've got mixed in with guys who are absolutely giving it their all to get that Ohio State offer, who probably won't get it. Guys that would absolutely chew nails to get that offer. You got some crazy 5-stars like Jahkeem Stewart's up. He's the dude from Louisiana who is a absolute monster and loves Ohio State for some reason. You know, absolutely seems to love it. This is his second time visiting. We've got a little bit of footage from him working out with LJ. We had a 5-star safety from Mississippi come up. This dude's a stud. He walked away with his offer. Obviously, a really awesome lineman from Maryland, really high-rated 4-star, like top 50-ish prospect. And then mixed in with that, you got the guys like Jake Cook and Nolan Davenport, a couple of Ohio linemen who were right on the cusp of that offer. They were both in yesterday. But we're going to go over all of that. And we got visits, a chock full list of visitors coming this weekend, then again next weekend. Talked to some of those guys, got a couple updates there. And there is a piece about that I ran across, several pieces, kind of a series of unpopular Ohio State opinions or unpopular college football opinions. And I want to go over a few of those and get your opinion on these. I got some things to say about some of the opinions here. That was on Land Grant Holy Land, which written by Bleez17. So Bleez17 is a very opinionated dude, guy that I've followed off and on for 10-ish years because he says really funny things and hooks me in and then says something really obnoxious and I leave and then I always inevitably come back. I can't quit him, but it is what it is. So we're going to go over a couple of those too. But let's start here. So you saw that intro That is my I don't know what you call that thing when you put something like that together. It's my splicey thing, right? I spliced things and I put them together to make one thing. Don't know what you call it. But the last show, I put one of those in the beginning of my show. It was from the Ohio State media team, okay, about Bo Jackson. As some of you guys said I did awesome on that. I want to make it clear that I cannot take credit for that. It was awesome. That was from the Ohio State media team. And it had Bo Jackson, and it had Eddie running, and then it had Beanie jumping up and down. It had Zeke, it had JK, and it was basically like, here's the next one. Spliced in amongst them was some highlights of Bo from high school. And I've been thinking for a while that just kind of this theory, right? Not really a theory, but so Devin Sanchez, obviously a dream recruit, right? He comes on the scene and we hear that he may be interested in Ohio State. And from that period to the time he committed to Ohio State, very short window. Now, we see all these other guys who go through the entire process, all the visits, all the teasing, right? All playing the social media game, getting everybody hyped. Trey McNutt just came out today with he's going down to visit Florida today. He's releasing his visits one at a time to maximize the exposure. And the system is set up for you to benefit when you do it that way, right? You can't fault anybody for doing it, or you can. That's up to you. But that's how the system is set up. They benefit from this. Their name gets out there more. Their name recognition raises, and they become more valuable in a NIL setting or in an advertising setting. Like if your name is more recognizable, it's worth more money in that market. So that's the way it's set up. Then you got a guy like Devin Sanchez. And I feel like if Devin Sanchez would have gone this route and drawn out, played the long game on his recruitment, the hype around him, just because of the crazy talent that he is, would be something we don't have on the board this year. This is not a Jamie French. This is not a Trey McNutt. Both 5 stars. Devin Sanchez is a transcendent talent. Absolutely ridiculous. And I don't know. I mean, most of us know, right? But it's not on the top of our mind when we think about Devin Sanchez. Yes, we think he's excellent, but had it gone longer, we would have, I think, really dove in a little more. He would have constantly been in the news. We would have constantly been watching his highlights. And we haven't really. We did it first. And then, boom, he's locked in such a solid recruit. And then we talk about him all the time because the family's been so helpful for the cause of V25 and everything they've done. But just Devin as a player. And I got to admit, man, when I was doing that, when I was putting that together, anyway, the whole point is watching that thing for Bo, I was like, man, if anybody deserves something like this, it's Devin. And that was my intent. I'm going to do this for Devin. So I think it might have been the first time. I'll be the first to admit, I don't love watching film on DBs. It's just not something I enjoy. I'm drawn to running backs. I'm drawn to offensive linemen. I'm drawn to linebackers, defensive linemen. I don't watch a ton of corner film. Man, I've watched him before, but I don't know that I've ever really dug into it like I did yesterday when I was putting this together. My gosh, man. The dude is just the instincts, the athleticism. He's off the charts. He's a transcendent talent, and he's got all of the tools needed to be on that list with those guys at some point. It's just unbelievable. So I put that together. I hope you guys liked it. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the whole, because it's different now, man. The recruiting game is so different now. If you're in that situation, it's like I want to be irritated with some of these guys, but who can blame them? It's set up to benefit that way, which just makes you appreciate all the more guys who say, no, I don't want that. I'm a football player, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play football. Oh, by the way, I'm from Texas, but I want that school. I'm going there. And he chose us, and it's just fantastic. So kudos to our guy. But let's start here with the camp updates. So yesterday was I'm recording this on Thursday evening. Yesterday was Wednesday. Wednesday had a full list of visitors. A ton of studs came in from out of town, and we're going to go over the offers that came out from yesterday and some of the offers that came out today. All right, I'm all warmed up. These kids are trying to freeze me out of it down here. Okay, all right, let's start with our big local guys. Now, there's a lot of us wondering if there were going to be some offers for four main guys, I think most of us, guys that we all knew. Let's start with Nolan Davenport. So Nolan Davenport, offensive line out of Massillon. He was in on Wednesday at camp. Didn't have a good day, just to be frank. The clips I saw of him, he just it looked like he gained weight. They wanted him to gain weight. Didn't look like he really gained quality weight. And he just didn't look good. He didn't look good. He did not end up getting an offer, and he has since committed to Wisconsin. And congratulations to him. Congratulations to Coach Fickle and the Badgers. They definitely got a committed dude who really wants to play Big Ten D1 football, and he's going to be a good one at some point. He's just not quite Ohio State ready yet. So kudos to him. Running back Kentrell Reinhardt out of Westland. He's a guy that I've been pumping to get an offer for a while. 2,000 yards last year. In the running for Ohio Mr. Football. Plays at a bit of a smaller school. He did not get an offer at the end of yesterday, and he was giving an interview afterwards. And in that interview, they asked him about the offer, and he said, well, Coach Lachlan wasn't sure if he was going to offer because they had just taken a running back in 25, Bo Jackson, and they weren't sure if they were going to take two. Well, we know that they want to take three, so that sounded like maybe that offer's not coming. And then today, Kentrell Reinhardt tweeted this. So, safe to say, Kentrell Reinhardt not going to be at Ohio State. Dwayne Galloway, cornerback out of Marion Franklin, rated 122 nationally. This is a really, really good corner. Fast. They hand-timed him yesterday at a 4.35 40 and a 4.45 40. Obviously, those are hand-timed, so you can add a little bit to that. But nonetheless, a fast dude. I watched the tape. He can smoke him. But he's 5'11 and a half, 165. That's his official measurements from yesterday at camp. That's on the small side. And when you're talking about guys still in the mix, like Dorian Brew and Brandon Finney, if they offered Dwayne Galloway now, he would probably take it. And then you either got to rule one of them out, rule out taking one of them, or adjust your numbers and get funky with it. And they just don't want to. They really want Brew. They would also love Finney. And we'll add Finney onto the big board. We haven't talked about him or watched any of his film yet. We'll do that on the weekend show. Finney's awesome. But Galloway did not get his offer yet. Now, Galloway's got Michigan and Penn State in on him. He's a guy that if the Buckeyes miss out on Brew and Brandon Finney, then I think they try to kick the tires on Galloway if he's not yet committed by then. But you know how that goes. I mean, if they end up committing to Michigan and then you try to go back after the fact, they usually got a big grudge and they have turned on you officially. So, you know, it stinks. It's a guy who's really good from Ohio and in most years would definitely be a Buckeye. It just so happens that this particular year, we've got the two best cornerbacks in the world in the class. What are you going to do? And finally, Jake Cook of Westerville North, 6'5", 295, 3-star guard, rated number 600-ish nationally. He is a Louisville commit. My favorite of all these guys, because I've talked to him quite a bit, and I can just tell this dude wants it so bad. He transformed his body from his freshman year to sophomore year to junior year to now heading into his senior year. Looks like an absolute tank. He is athletic, put the weight on, the quality weight in the gym, and just really impressed everybody. He did not get his offer yesterday, but I talked to Jake last night, and Jake feels good. So I don't think this is over yet. Now, there is a thought that Jake Cook may be the next man up should Caden Strayhorn, who's probably going to Michigan, and Andrew Stargell not end up committing. I kind of feel like that may be the case. They had started off saying they wanted 3 linemen in this class. Then there was the thought that they may go to 4 and then 5. As far as interior linemen go on the board, and we'll go over the board this weekend, I still think Jake Cook's got a shot at this. I really do. Talked to Andrew Stargell, who is definitely going to be in town on his visit this week. He has Ohio State, then he scheduled Kentucky and NC State after that. He was at UCF last week. So all due respect to Kentucky, NC State, and UCF, who are 3 programs that are actually really on the come up, investing and really doing good things in football. I still think for this class, Andrew Stargell's a lock. So where does that leave us with Jake Cook? Again, we'll go over the board and see how everything fits together this weekend. Now that we know Fanuku is not kind of the lock that we thought he was at this point, now that Georgia is on board with him, he's a Texas dude. It's probably going to come down to Ohio State and Georgia for him. But A&M's also involved as well. So, it sounded like we were really in great standing for him, but, that could go a couple of different ways. We're not so sure how bad A&M wants him. He's an in-state dude, and A&M with in-state dudes. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. Mike Elko's doing very good for them. If he comes off the board, that definitely opens up the possibility of Jake Cook, but there's some other guys in there too. Zaire Addison out of Florida. What's he looking like? He's not scheduled yet for an official. So whole lot to talk about there. We'll go over that. There was a bunch of tight ends working out with Keenan Bailey. Keenan Bailey put out a couple offers. So he offered for the class of 2026, Jude Cascone out of Walton High School in Atlanta, Georgia. This is Jude right here. We don't have any rankings yet on a lot of these guys. Dude, 6'3", 225. Here's a picture of him with Mike Norvell, head coach of Florida State. Coach Key offered 2 behemoths, Lincoln Keys from Saline, Michigan. Again, this is a 2026 guy. 6'6", 220. And Evan Jacobson, 6'7", 220 from Iowa. Get a look at this kid. Couple of monsters. Nate Roberts, our tight end in this class, was on hand. He's got his official this week. This weekend. So he came in town and worked out with the guys. He was working out at camp. Here's a clip of him. All right. So Larry Johnson had himself a good time working out with the headliner of the day on Thursday, his second trip up to Ohio State, Jahkeem Stewart, who is a 5-star defensive lineman, the 6'5", 270, 260, number 2 rated overall player in 2026. There's been talk that he may reclassify to 2025. That would be really cool. He's from Louisiana. He's visited twice now. This is his second time up. He loved it the first time, and that wasn't too long ago. So normally we wouldn't go after a guy from Louisiana hard. However, there has been rumblings that he's not too interested in LSU. In fact, I heard a recruiting guy say he's got LSU off the board. He doesn't want to go there. Now, the longer his recruitment takes, the more it gives them time to weasel themselves back in there. I don't know why he's not high on LSU, but normally a guy we really wouldn't have a shot at. We got a really good shot at this dude. And, man, he was impressive. He looks like he's not quite grown into his size yet. A little kind of floppy the way he moves around. Incredibly strong. Just a tank, man. The guy's going to be he's a clear first-round pick. Like, there's no doubt about it. He's going to be excellent. Tyleek and Ty Hamilton came out and watched this dude. That's them on the left-hand side in this picture. Just watching him go through drills. That's how impressive this guy is. Some of the craziest tape I've ever seen. And we will watch some of that tape on the weekend show along with Jameer Brown and Brillan. But he absolutely stole the show for sure. But another defensive lineman was offered today, and that is Carter Lucky out of Norcross, Georgia, 6'5", 250. 3-star kid, but On3 has him quite a bit higher. On3 has him as a top 100 kid. So I suspect he will probably rise quite a bit. Have not seen his film yet, but that's a big old boy. And Larry was clearly impressed with him. All right, so Brian Hartline had a really fun time working out yesterday with Jameer Brown. Jameer Brown, I haven't talked about him a ton lately, but Jameer Brown, when I first heard about him, was his track time. So the dude is the fastest player in the state, one of the fastest players in the country as a freshman last year. His football film is much longer than I thought it would be. The guy played a ton last year at wide receiver. I didn't think he was so big when I watched him in his track film. He's 6 foot 175. As far as his speed goes, when you compare, so Ted Ginn at his age, at this dude's age, Ted did not have this in him yet. When you look at this natural receiving agility, he's advanced. He's pretty advanced for a guy. I just thought he was just a burner. That kid just finished his freshman year. Now, this dude's going to be a 5-star. There's no doubt about it. I've watched him in a couple of interviews. He's a shy kid. He is that's always good for keeping a in-state player home if they're kind of shy. He's awesome. Plays at Wayne, Braxton Miller's high school. Brian Hartline was talking to him yesterday, and there was, I believe, on the podcast, they relayed a story that they overheard, or Berm overheard Hartline talking to him and his dad or his uncle, and saying, you're really fast. Obviously he got the offer. You're really fast, but your routes suck. I can help you with that. And listening to Jameer Brown talk afterwards to Bill Kurlick, it just sounds like, he's very into Brian Hartline and him helping him become a great wide receiver. And again, a really shy kid, seems like a smart, humble dude. The kind of guy that's kind of a, I don't want to say a layup, but as good of a personality and situation as we could have to kind of lock him down at a young age as all Buckeye. And he's going to be a 5-star, no doubt about it. And another guy that had himself a day, Preston Bowman. This dude apparently stole the show. Wide receiver from Pickerington North. He is 6 foot 190, 3-star from 247 with offers from Michigan and Kentucky, and now Ohio State, as he earned himself at camp a Brian Hartline offer, obviously incredibly coveted by a wide receiver. So congratulations to him. I don't know exactly the contingencies tied to that offer, as he is a 2025 guy, and there are, a lot of prime targets for Hartline in that 2025 class. So we'll see what happens. But at any rate, awesome job from him. Another guy in 26 that earned a wide receiver offer, Jerquaden Guillemots. He's from Northrop in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Here is a picture of him with fellow Indiana star Mylan Graham. Another 3-star guy across the board, but he's got offers from Notre Dame, Alabama, Ohio State, and Miami, which is pretty wild for a 3-star dude. So I'm guessing they really missed the boat here so far with his rating. Another offer to Jaden Ricketts, a 3-star Ohio kid from Pataskala, one of the best 2026 wide receivers in Ohio. All right, let's go to offensive line, where we got an offer to 2026 interior lineman Grant Wise, 6'4", 300 from Pace, Florida. He is an absolute unit, and he's very athletic. We got a little film on him here. Take a look at this kid. He can really move. And he's nasty. He's a nasty lineman. He told me, Coach Fry will tell you like you need to hear, and I like that. Ohio State's a great program. We've produced great players, especially on the offensive line. So this dude's going to be a hot commodity when next year rolls around for sure. He is a top 150 player, and he's going to rise. This dude's a really athletic kid, and he's all about football. 2-time All-Florida. All right, DBs. Vic Singleton from Toledo Central Catholic. Most people might know him. Top 50 overall prospect. It was only a matter of time. I was surprised they waited this long to offer him. We had heard it was because of his weight. He's about 160. The dude's a stud. He's blanket coverage. We got a couple clips on him yesterday. So Vic Singleton got his offer. Okay, another offer went out to Jacob Weatherspoon out of Avon. He's a 3-star, listed as an athlete. He's a corner. I'm sorry, his composite is a 4-star. Internally, 247 has him a 3-star. So he's a 4-star corner out of Avon. Top 200 player nationally, 5'11", 172. Here's a picture of Jacob Weatherspoon. So good on him. He really showed out yesterday. All right, and another DB offer went out yesterday, and that is Brillan Wac. Now, this one's exciting. So this is a 5-star, top 20 overall prospect in 2026 out of Mississippi, who's got offers from Georgia and Alabama, Mississippi, Mississippi State, all the other big schools around the SEC right around him. And he came up to Ohio State to get what he told me was his dream offer. Now, I've been doing this for a little bit, and a lot of these guys say it's their dream offer. Not generally guys from the South, and certainly not a dude from Mississippi. Why is it his dream offer? I've been keeping up with Ohio State since Justin Fields, J.K. Dobbins, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and K.J. Hill. Not many people where I'm from get this offer. All right. When he said K.J. Hill, now, you can say a lot of names from Ohio State. We're talking a 13-year-old when these guys played. The fact that he said K.J. Hill, that's a name off the beaten path, right? For a 13-year-old, this dude's legitimately an Ohio State fan from Mississippi. He was dropping Buckeye emojis in our conversation. Yeah, I'm excited about this one for sure. And a big personality and a talker. We're going to have him on the show next year when his recruiting, it's already booked. He can't wait. When his recruiting heats up next year, that 5-star wants to be a Buckeye, and that sounds great. And when you add him in with Rock Hill, who's at Hoban, who's a 5-star corner next year, and then we got Singleton out in Toledo. There's a chance that we could really get something going. And we talked about earlier on when I first started the show with Devin and Naeem, when they first both committed, that we're kind of building a secondary with what we have currently at the university that is really starting to look like peak Alabama under Saban, where it was just first rounders replaced with first rounders. It's getting to that level. And as we're looking out, it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. So exciting times, guys. Very exciting times. And one more stud offer that went out yesterday, 2027, Larry Moon, cornerback from Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. Aliquippa, big old football town, small town, but big on football. Aliquippa guys don't usually come to Ohio State, but they've had a long list of NFL studs. I can't remember off the top of my head who they are. Come on. Tony Dorsett maybe went there or came from there. I think Mike Ditka might have come from there. Revis Island, Darrell Revis might have come from there. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure those guys all came from there. And we just got a comment here. PFF released their top 10 wide receiver groups. I heard Ohio State old wide receiver coach Zach Smith talking about it on his podcast. He said he 100% agreed with Oregon being at the top. Oh, Jesus, here we go. It's an Oregon guy. Thanks, Zach. It's an Oregon guy using PFF and Zach Smith. Listen, guys, I got a PFF rant for the ages. I'm just going to, okay. PFF is not a statistic. PFF relies on human beings watching plays and breaking them down, okay? Now, PFF is a tool that you can use as part of lots of different things to evaluate a player. It is not the definitive end-all be-all on who a player is or what a player does. There are some positions in PFF that are better than others. When you talk about positions like offensive line or corner, number one, you don't know their assignments. Keep in mind, if you are the person working for PFF and your assignment is to break down this player, every play for this game, you log the grades, you turn them in, they judge it. That there's 9 potential grades. You start, okay, 0 is the average. 0 would be an average play. 0.5, that's good. And you go up to 2 on the top end. Then you go down on the bottom end to -2 for bad plays. -0.5, -0.1, etc. So if your job is to sit there and grade that offensive lineman every single play, you don't know his assignment. You don't know what he's supposed to do. Now you can figure it out on most plays, but a lot of plays you can't. Same thing with that DB. You don't know what that DB is supposed to do. How are you going to grade that DB on every single play unless you're his coach watching film with him? There are some serious flaws to PFF. They have 600 people at PFF that grade plays. 600. PFF boasts that there is a 300-page training manual for those people to grade plays. So if you are going to come at me and tell me that there is a definitive opinion that you have based solely on someone's PFF grade, I'm going to tell you you're unserious about football. That person's opinion on that player who judged that player on PFF is a person's opinion who may or may not know as much about football as you. Yes, they did study their 300-page manual from PFF. I don't know what that manual is. PFF keeps a lot of stuff guarded about how their process works. There is some stuff on their website you can find that breaks it down for you. And I got to tell you, it all boils down to, at the end, we are talking about other human beings like you or I giving an opinion on one specific play, every play, about that player's performance on that specific play. Which means you and I could be looking at that same player and grade that player differently. So this entire thing, this entire number that gets spit out, all boils down to subjective opinion in the end. But it's dressed up to look like a statistic. It's not a statistic. It's all opinion based. Understand? So I don't want to hear this guy's good, this guy's bad, or this wide receiver group is better than that one based on a PFF number, when you know damn well, if you're talking about Ohio State and Oregon, we are speculating a lot on Ohio State's because there's less production. That doesn't, okay, yes, if you're saying right now, this particular moment, who's better statistically, it's Oregon. We're talking about game 6 when those guys meet on the field. Who's going to be the better unit? I'm going with the guys that have the NFL Hall of Famer that hasn't played a game yet in college. That's the guys I'm going with. You can go with that, guys. We'll see what happens this season. But by the way, tell me, what PFF grade does J.J. Smith have right now? Can somebody tell me that? Can you tell me J.J. Smith's PFF grade? Because I'm going to guess without him, yes, Oregon's probably in the lead. So Land Grant Holy Land, series of unpopular opinions. And all right, so here's the most vanilla of the arguments. And that is the pass interference penalty is better in college than in the NFL. So college, 15 yards or a spot foul if it's less than 15 yards is better than the NFL, which is just a straight spot foul that could be 50 yards down the field. The argument against the college one is if you're a DB and you're giving up a 25-yarder, well, you can just pull a PI and save yourself 10 yards. And it's a good argument. However, you can say the same and you can see the same in the NFL when a quarterback throws a pass and a wide receiver intentionally, they throw routes where they can intentionally draw a pass interference or try to. They do it often. Now, when you've got two plays, in my opinion, that can both be manipulated or exploited, you have to go with the one that changes the game less, which means to me, it is the pass interference for 15 yards is always going to be the preferred method for a football game in terms of fairness than giving up a potential 30-yarder on a pass interference. It's always struck me as just ridiculous. When you look at all the penalties in the game, that's the most punitive one. Like, pass interference is the most punitive penalty by far. 35 yards. Like, what? There's not, think of that. I mean, you could stack on 5 different penalties or a 50-yard pass interference. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy that it is so disproportionately penalized. And I'm totally on board with this opinion here. All right, his next unpopular opinion. Peacock is actually fine. Of course, he's talking about streaming games on Peacock when very few people have Peacock. I happen to have Peacock. I don't remember what it was that I signed up for that thing. It might have been like Naked and Afraid when I was on a survival series kick. I had a little kick there. I go on kicks. And I got to consume everything on that particular topic. Right now, my kick is this show. And you kind of see I just, bam, singularly focused. I've got to do everything about that particular thing. In outdoor survivalist shows was a kick of mine, and I think that's why I got signed up for Peacock. So to me, the reaction was big. It was huge. It was horrible. People were angry. It's a cheap service. It's a couple of bucks. And I get the constant, every time we turn around, somebody wants a couple dollars here or there for something new, an additional thing we did not formerly have to pay for. I understand how obnoxious it is. I do. But at the same time, when you break it down to the few amount of Ohio State games and the amount of joy that they bring us, I don't think spending $7 for a Buckeye game is one time a year is something that's really going to bother me. I think what bothered more of us was the general principle that you're going to make a deal that makes us have to buy this subscription service. It was more the concept that you're going to make us do that. And then obviously they're banking on us forgetting to cancel that service, which I had forgotten after my survival series show kick. So it worked. And it probably worked for some of you who still have it after that game and have never watched it. Reminder, cancel Peacock. I'll remind you when to pick it up again. But, his point here, he gets a laugh at people freaking out about it. I don't get a laugh. I think it's legit to be irritated about that, for sure. I also don't think it's that big of a deal to pony up a couple of bucks. Listen, if they asked you right now, you can pay $100 right now, and we're going to show you every single Ohio State game, or we're not going to show you the game. How about this? What if they asked us, how much are you willing to spend for a season package to Ohio State football games on TV? If they came out with that package, how much would you pay for it? They could almost name their price. I mean, honestly, think of how amazing it is, the amount that we can watch every game. My grandpa couldn't do this. We can watch every game in high definition. It's amazing. So how much could they charge if they just had a singular Ohio State football package? What would you pay? What would you pay per game? Is that worth a $25 a game ticket for your whole family to watch the game? Listen, as much as we would freak out about it, right? We would freak out about it. And I don't just mean we Buckeye fans. I mean everybody around the country. If they took sports this way, NFL, college, if you want to watch your home team, instead of going to the game and buying a ticket, you're going to buy a house ticket, which is where you're going to be able to watch it on TV at your house for your whole family, or as many as you can pack in. Many TVs as you want in your house, too. We'll let you have it on all. How much would you pay? I mean, if it was that or going to a bar and watching it, which I'm not doing, I don't know what I'd pay. It'd be a lot. I mean, I'd pay $100, $150 a game for the family, I guess. I don't know, man. If that was the only option, I'd pay it, right? So paying $6 on Peacock, when we're talking in those terms, I'm not proposing this to send you. I'm just saying, like, if there is an alternate universe where that could have been the case when they originally started rolling out, if TV were just structured differently in the beginning, like, hey, we got this product and we're going to sell it like this. We haven't had to deal with that. We've had to deal with terrible cable subscriptions to watch different things that we don't want to watch, or to watch things we want to watch with a whole bunch of junk that we don't want. And then they rolled us into streaming, which seemed like, oh, finally, we're going to be able to buy things a la carte, which is still not that now, because now we have all these different streaming services for this channel and then that channel over here. It's even more confusing. Can we just pause here for a second and talk about how much worse this is now than cable was? Everybody wanted to get away from cable because it had all these extra things we didn't want. We just wanted these 6 channels, right? Well, streaming. Here comes streaming. It's perfect. It's great. You can cut the cord. How many of you, gosh, that's loud. How many of you pay less for watching what you need to watch than you used to back then? Percentage-wise, I'm talking. Obviously, it's going to be more. The amount of services that we have at this house far outweighs my premium cable package or direct TV package that I had 5 years ago. Like, it is way more. But anyway, what am I talking about here? I'm talking about Peacock. So the dude doesn't think it's a big deal to pony up $6 to get Peacock for the month to watch that Buckeyes game, that one Buckeyes game a year. I agree on principle. Paying $6 for the Buckeyes game to be able to watch it, not a big deal. However, I think it's a move. I think it's a dirty move that they did that, and I don't like it. So I disagree with his unpopular opinion here. All right, Wrigley Field. This is a good one. So Wrigley Field, I did this a little while ago. This was the topic on the show. Wrigley Field, he starts his piece with, we should just kick Northwestern out of the Big Ten, which don't tell them that, man. They'll come back at you and let you know that they get massive bowl payouts for the conference. They earn those massive bowl payouts, and they also contribute $800 million in research funding to the AAU, as if that has anything to do with Big Ten football. Because the AAU has 75 members and most of the Big Ten is AAU members. It doesn't mean a thing to us when it comes to football. But obviously, they're playing the games at that little temporary stadium on the lake, which is a 15,000 seat stadium for season ticket holders only to go there. And they're playing there until the Cubs leave Wrigley. And then the rest of their games are going to be played at Wrigley. So the Buckeyes play them late in the year. Buckeyes, Northwestern Wildcats from Wrigley Field. We pulled up pictures when I did the piece last year of how dangerous the field was when they played against Iowa. And I'm not just joking. Like, it was bad. I'll pull them up again. Let's start here. There's a lot of people excited to go to Wrigley to see the Buckeyes game. I don't share that excitement because, to me, that's not Wrigley Field. Wrigley Field, and I love stadiums. It's one of my things. Uniforms, stadiums, like, these are my jams. Wrigley Field is not Wrigley Field without the Chicago Cubs and the baseball diamond and the Ivy Wall. Like, that's Wrigley Field. It's not Wrigley when you're watching this weird configured like, the football field barely fits, which is another injury hazard. You can only have one sideline because of the configurations. The end zone is right up against the wall. It's dangerous. It's flat out dangerous. Both teams are sharing a sideline. I don't like it at all. And it certainly wouldn't appeal to me as the spectator because the seats look horrible. Everything about it looks horrible. However, fun to watch on TV in bowl season. not where I want our Ferrari of a football team playing a regular season game late in the season. It's just not. So, yeah, I'm with the dude here. I forgot to read his points. I don't know what they are. I don't care. Mine are better. All right, man. This one got me heated. So, the next one. The Shoe is not a top 5 venue for a big game. So he goes on to make sure nobody gets mad at him and espouse his love for Ohio Stadium first. That's the prerequisite when you're saying something that's going to irritate a lot of your fellow fan base, is you got to go in first and tell them how much you love it first before you smash it. Now, his point here is the exact opposite of the way I view this. And I got a pretty strong feeling about this too, but it's totally opposite of him. So what he means is, if you love college football and the Buckeyes, or you have season tickets and you want to bring friends to a family or a game, or just guarantee yourself a great game day experience, then the Shoe is always going to deliver. And he's talking just week to week. The Shoe is a great venue, always going to deliver. Beautiful, historic, loud, amazing place to be. Top 5 environment, bucket list game. At any big game, it is not. So my opinion is the exact opposite. My opinion is the Shoe, and this isn't a unique opinion. This is an opinion shared, I think, by a lot of us. A normal game day with a opponent who comes in, I would like to do a little math, just a little data, just kind of go through and figure out what is the average spread. How much are we favored on average to the team that comes in? It's usually a lot. It's usually substantial. We get maybe 1 or 2 competitive games a year at the stadium. In those other games, we're expected to win by a lot. And it makes for a crappy environment when you come into a game and your mindset, and this is just human nature, it's not unique to us, your mindset is we are supposed to blow this team out. So if we're not blowing the team out and we're still winning, it's not this exciting atmosphere. It's this irritation that you can sense, you can feel the irritation in the Shoe whenever we feel like they're underperforming, which could be they're only up by 14 against Indiana in the third quarter, and everybody's irritated. Like, we should be smashing these dudes. And it's just not a great environment for that. Conversely, if we're blowing a team out, it's what we're supposed to do, which, again, we get up for the big plays in the first and the second half, or first and second quarter. After that, it's a blah kind of atmosphere. You've never sat anywhere that big and heard the place be so quiet. At times, I'm just being honest, it's an eerie feeling at Ohio State games when there are so many people and there's a kind of a, ho-hum action on the field. You can hear everything. Like, it's eerie. It's odd. There's nothing like it. And it's really, I don't find it to be particularly debatable. So my argument is this, which is the opposite of his. He thinks that it's those times where it's great. I think it sucks. And it's not our fault. It's the competition that we play, and it's the result of being so good. They have the same issue at Alabama. Saban is about it too. It's just the way it goes when you become so good that the only teams that can compete with you, there's just a handful in the country. So everybody else is a bum. And after so many decades of this, you just kind of lose the excitement to just beat up on bums. They talk about places with great atmospheres, and usually, let's say Oregon, for instance. We got some Oregon listeners. Autzen is a great environment. They beat up on a lot of bums, and that place is still jamming. I would contend the difference is they've not been beating up on bums like that at Autzen Stadium for 80 years. It's the last 20-ish years, it's a newer thing to them. It's not to Ohio State. We've all grown up since we were kids beating up on bums. And this is a Big Ten problem. It's why I rail against the Big Ten so much. But let's get back to his point. And his point is these are the great times. Ohio State's not good for big games. Buddy, I've been to big games. Ohio State, it is without a doubt top 5. Let me tell you what his top 5 environments are. And some of these are just insane. These are his top 5 bucket list big game environments. A big game at Notre Dame, any big game. All right. The home and home Ohio State and Notre Dame just played, the Ohio State atmosphere was 10 times better. Maybe not 10. 3.2 times better than the Notre Dame atmosphere. It wasn't close. It was not close. The buzz, the energy, the celebrities, it wasn't close. The Ohio State one topped it by a mile. Notre Dame is good. It's not even in the top 10. It's not. It's just not. If you want to take a quiet tour around campus, go to the little sanctuary there and pray with Mary. That's cool. And there's a ton of history, and I respect the heck out of Notre Dame. I really like Notre Dame. I've said it before. I got a lot of family that loves Notre Dame. I get all that. I get the appeal. Game day environment on a big game, get out of town, bro. Not close. Over. Second, night game at Baton Rouge. No doubt. Awesome environment. Top 5 for sure. Whiteout at Penn State, 100%. Fantastic. Might be my favorite number 1 environment. It is. I just said that in an episode I just did. We can pull that back up if we want to, or we don't need to. Without a doubt, Penn State number 1. So here's another one that he puts on here that I think does not belong. Virginia Tech. All right. Virginia Tech, Enter Sandman, the intro, chills, phenomenal, amazing. 10 minutes. The rest of the game, it's like Iowa, which is a fun atmosphere at night. Iowa night games are pretty slick too. And neither is top 5, okay? You're still at Virginia Polytechnic, all right? This is not major college football. It's a couple rungs below. They've had a few seasons in my lifetime where they've been super relevant on that. And it's just not that. It is not that at all. But Enter Sandman there is awesome. So is Sandstorm at South Carolina. It doesn't make South Carolina an awesome atmosphere, though it is, and as a matter of fact, considerably better than Virginia Tech throughout the game. But this guy likes the first 10 minutes, so he gives Virginia Tech the nod over Ohio State. Bro, Ohio State's out of conference games. The series against USC, against Texas. We can go through the list. They were all so lit. It was insane. Nobody does big games like us, man. We kill it. We kill it. Even a night game I went to a night game against the one against Nebraska a couple years back, and I think we put up 60. It was like 63-3. That atmosphere was lit. Absolutely lit. Fireworks, the whole nine. Not too many can do it like us for big games. In his atmosphere at UCLA, at the Rose Bowl. And he says, I don't care if UCLA plays there, and they usually suck. Watching the sunset makes for the best atmosphere. Like, dude, are you a football fan? Do you even like football? What are you talking about? Have you ever watched USC and UCLA on TV? They can't even sell the thing out, man. You can't have a great atmosphere in a half-empty stadium. Get out of town. All right, so I disagree with that. Yes, it's unpopular, and it should be because it's a garbage opinion. Now, this brings me to a bigger point when we talk about Ohio Stadium, and this is it's a point that I've made several times. I'll continue to. This is the fault of the Big Ten for not spending money on their program to get better, for not paying their assistant coaches, raising their coaches pool, putting more money into recruiting, and trying to be better, which sandwiches us with a big out-of-conference game in the beginning, a couple of our rivals at the end. Usually Penn State seems to fall towards the end with Michigan. And in between, a pile of crap. Every year that home slate of games comes out, we look down at it and we try to gauge, okay, how many of these games are going to be fun? We don't need to look too far because they'll just go ahead and jack up the price on those. We can just use that as the gauge. All right, this one might be a little more fun. It's dynamically priced, right? There aren't too many dynamically priced games. Years where we don't have Michigan. So what was last year's? Last year, I think, had Penn State. That was it. Let me pull up the home slate last year. Maryland, Minnesota as two potentially decent Big Ten schools. Youngstown State, Western Kentucky out of conference. This is just brutally bad, man. It's brutally bad. But my broader point is the atmosphere is not ideal because there aren't ever guys on our level coming into play, which is why that Penn State game is always so off the hook. And why Sparty games, when Sparty's good, those are great games. Wisconsin, same way. But it's the schools like the Marylands and the Minnesotas, schools that don't invest. They don't invest in their football, but they have the ability to be much better and be much more competitive with Ohio State, but they just don't invest in their football. And it's bad for us. We don't deserve this. We deserve so much more. That's my problem. We deserve so much more. But we're in this stodgy conference that I'm hoping is starting to move forward. And don't get me wrong, I'm no Big Ten hater. I grew up loving the Big Ten, loving all these programs, learning about all of the programs in the Big Ten when I was young. Respected them a lot more back then, too. Like a school like Purdue. Like Purdue, I learned all about what they do, their aerospace stuff, like everything about Purdue. Purdue, good football school. That's the way it felt to me when I was young. It doesn't feel that way anymore. Minnesota. Minnesota is a place that could do so much better. And in an era of NIL, we just live in a part of a country that a lot of places that we play in our conference don't care about football like we do. That's just what it is. We are in the wrong area of the country. We're unique. And it's okay to say it, man. Yes, the second half of the Big Ten is horrific. Horrific. I can't wait. Now I can't wait. Listen, I don't like the in-between, right? I wanted to stay with regional conferences. I liked it. Now we're in this weird cross section where it's like we all know where this is going, but now we're just in this like purgatory here. Okay, we're going to pretend like the Big 12 and the ACC are going to be able to hold this out for forever, and this merge isn't coming. The merge is coming. They're going to get left out. They need to jump on board. Let's just get this over with and go where we're going, because I'm done with all the change, man. It's so annoying. All right, guys, a couple of updates here. So we're going to go into this further on the weekend show, but here's our visit list for this weekend. We've got commits: Eli Lee, Des Jones, and Nate Roberts. So Des Jones, wide receiver; Eli Lee, our linebacker; Nate Roberts, our tight end. Maybe the biggest commits or the biggest recruits coming in for their visits: safety Fahim Delane, who, with the situation with McNutt, is a big one now, a really, really big one. We've got wide receiver Quincy Porter, 6'3", 190, a top 10 wide receiver. Maybe my favorite one still left on the board. We've got Damian Shanklin, the Shank, who looks like he is really leaning hard LSU. We'll see if the Buckeyes can pull him off of that. We've got Jackson Lloyd, the tackle out of Carmel, California, 6'6", 290, top 200 player. I think he's better than that. He's also a basketball player, and he looks really smooth out there playing hoops. So those are the big ones. Then we got offensive lineman Javon McFadden. That's a 3-star out of Maryland, who has offers from Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon. So much better than your normal 3-star that you would see. A hot commodity for sure. And our dude, Andrew Stargell. So that's the visitor list this weekend: Fahim Delane, Quincy Porter, Damian Shanklin, Jackson Lloyd, Eli Lee, Des Jones, and Nate Roberts. And then the lineman, Javon McFadden, and Andrew Stargell. And we will go through all of that this weekend with some updates on what we're hearing from that, as well as we're going to update our big board. We're going to watch some highlights of those three studs, Brillan Wac, Jahkeem Stewart, and Jameer Brown. But that'll do us for. I'll talk to you guys this weekend, and I can't wait. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get it. Not let's get it. That's it. I'm out. I'll see you guys later. I'm all discombobulated from this guy's question over here. That's just I want to. But the show's got to end, or else I'll keep going forever. All right. Goodbye now.